Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're noticing some pretty dramatic changes in your skin over the age of 60, I mean, we're talking about those age spots that just weren't fade, maybe a new kind of fragility or fine lines that creams just aren't touching, you might be fixing a symptom, but completely ignoring the root cause.
That is really the core finding here. The health issues you can see, especially with aging skin, they almost never start on the surface.
Right.
They're usually the outward sign of an internal system that's, struggling to keep up.
Okay, let's really dive into that specific angle because
Yeah.
it's such a powerful idea. What if the key to getting a more youthful appearance isn't in a jar from the beauty aisle, but in understanding which essential minerals your body is quietly failing to use?
Well, our mission today is to explore that exact connection. We're going to trace a line from specific mineral deficiencies, and even more importantly, from failures in mineral absorption, directly to the visible signs of skin aging. It really shows that true vitality, that more youthful look, it has to be restored from the inside out, and it can be done with simple nutritional adjustments.
Absolutely. We're moving beyond just, eat your vitamins and getting into the real nuance of how does your body actually process what you eat once you hit a certain age. Let's start with what has to be the foundational mineral for structure, zinc. How big of a deal is zinc for our skin's integrity?
It's non-negotiable. Think of zinc as the chief engineer for building new cells and maintaining the ones you have. And crucially, it is essential for producing collagen.
Collagen, right. That's the protein scaffolding that keeps our skin firm, elastic, and, well, keeps it from sagging.
Precisely. And without enough zinc, that scaffolding, it just becomes shoddy. It gets brittle. The skin loses its natural elasticity. But just as important, its ability to repair itself is severely compromised.
Wow.
So if you notice wounds are healing slower or little irritations are lingering, that's often a sign that the body's repair system, which is so heavily reliant on zinc, is starting to falter.
That makes perfect sense for structure. But here's the big pivot that the sources were emphasizing, and it's so critical for anyone listening. If zinc is in so many foods, why does just eating a zinc-rich diet suddenly stop working for so many people as they get older?
This is where the deep dive truly begins, because the problem shifts from, intake to utility.
Utility.
Yes. As we get into our senior years, the digestive system naturally becomes less efficient at absorbing critical micronutrients like zinc.
But why, though? Is it just a general slowdown?
It's more specific and structural than that. One of the main culprits is reduced stomach acid production. Zinc needs a really acidic environment to be broken away from food proteins and prepped for absorption.
So if the acid isn't there...
If the acid is weak, a lot of that dietary zinc just passes straight through, completely unutilized. And on top of that, gut motility slows down, and there are subtle changes in the intestinal lining itself that reduce the efficiency of nutrient transport.
So you could be eating oysters and pumpkin seeds every day, but your body is treating maybe 70% of that nutrition-like waste because it can't do that first step of digestion right.
That is the exact conclusion. It's supported by the research. There was a Japanese study, I think it was in the Journal of Nutritional Science and Veterinanology, that looked at this specifically. They found that elderly individuals had significantly lower zinc absorption rates compared to younger adults, even when they were fed the exact same zinc-rich diet.
Wow. So the intake was identical, but the utilization just fell off a cliff.
It fell off a cliff, which confirms that we just can't look at this problem through the lens of a nutritional label.
That's a huge piece of data.
It is, and the challenge doesn't stop in the gut. The sources also point to the liver. The liver is where zinc is stored and metabolized. It's the body's mineral warehouse, basically.
Okay.
If liver function slows down with age, even a little bit, the body has a harder time storing and making available the zinc it did manage to absorb. So you see, optimizing absorption and keeping your liver healthy are really two sides of the same coin here.
Which leads us right to the practical side of this for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
If the whole mechanical process of digestion is the issue, that suggests we need to find a way to, I guess, bypass that barrier.
That's correct.
And this is why the sources point towards specific, highly bioavailable forms of supplements.
Exactly. If the challenge is breaking the mineral down from the food, then a form like zinc glycinate, which is a chelated mineral, meaning the zinc is bonded to an amino acid, it offers a really powerful shortcut.
How does that chemical bond help?
Because it doesn't rely so heavily on stomach acid. It's already in a form that the intestinal lining can recognize and transport much more easily than the raw mineral you'd find in food. It's just a more efficient delivery system for a less efficient digestive tract.
That distinction, moving from focusing on quantity to focusing on bioavailability.
Yeah.
That is a total game changer for people over 60. But zinc can't work alone, can it? I mean, structure is one thing, but you still need the defense system and the building crew.
Absolutely not. Zinc might be the foreman, but it definitely needs its coworkers. And this brings us to the next two critical minerals that really affect that internal glow: copper and magnesium.
Let's start with copper. What is its relationship with zinc? It sounds like it's a very close but delicate partnership.
It's an essential partnership. Copper is the balancer and a crucial structural helper. It directly helps with the absorption and, the proper use of zinc.
Okay.
Think of copper as the quality control manager for your skin's elasticity. If your copper levels are low, it can actually make all the negative effects of a zinc deficiency even worse.
So even if you are getting enough zinc, if your copper is low, your body can't properly use it to build those structural proteins.
Exactly. And structurally, copper is vital for producing both collagen and elastin, the stretch and the snap in your skin. A deficiency there means a much quicker onset of skin sagging and deeper wrinkles. It's the essential co-pilot for zinc in every way.
So we built the scaffolding and ensure the quality. Now let's talk defense. Magnesium. I feel like everyone talks about it for muscle cramps, but its role in skin aging seems to be widely misunderstood.
It really is. Magnesium is arguably the most important inflammation fighter in the body. It's involved in over 300 enzyme reactions, and its main job for skin health is to reduce that chronic subclinical inflammation and support cellular repair.
Subclinical inflammation. You mean the kind you don't really feel as pain, but it's just silently speeding up the aging clock?
That's it. It's like a low fire burning inside the body, constantly producing free radicals that attack healthy tissue, including your collagen. If magnesium levels are low, that fire just keeps smoldering, accelerating skin aging and making it incredibly difficult for tissues to recover.
The skin is always on defense, not repair.
Always on defense.
I think everyone over 60 has heard, oh, that's just life, when they mention nagging fatigue or poor sleep or muscle cramps. But what you're saying is that these things are not just life, they're symptoms of this internal fire.
That is the crucial takeaway. Low magnesium shows up as muscle cramps, fatigue, poor sleep, all things that directly impact your overall vitality. The skin is just reflecting the body's internal state of exhaustion.
So this brings up a big question, moving beyond just structure and into aesthetics. We're talking age spots, hyperpigmentation, that uneven coloring so many seniors face.
Yeah.
People spend hundreds on creams, but how does this trio of minerals connect to pigmentation?
Hyperpigmentation is fundamentally an issue of melanin mismanagement. Melanin is the pigment, and its production is highly sensitive to your mineral balance. Zinc, for example, acts as a regulator for melanin production.
So if you're deficient, that regulatory switch is broken, and it causes an overproduction of melanin when you get, say, minor sun exposure.
That's exactly it. That deficiency can cause localized overproduction, which forms those dark spots. And copper also plays a crucial regulatory role, helping to ensure pigment is distributed evenly. Without proper, balanced levels of both, the system gets hypersensitive and irregular. It's not just the sun exposure, it's how your body is internally managing that exposure.
That connection is it's eye-opening. We're talking about structure, vitality, and color, the three biggest pieces of a youthful appearance, all coming from this delicate internal mineral balance. But, and this is the problem, if we're struggling with absorption, so many people just rush to the only solution they know, a huge bottle of supplements.
And that leads us straight into the dangers of going overboard. We've talked about deficiency, but trying to fix that by oversupplementing can dramatically disrupt that crucial equilibrium.
What happens when we cross that line and just get too much of one thing?
Balance is everything. The body's absorption pathways are competitive. So too much zinc, which is very common in supplements, can severely interfere with copper absorption. It actually creates an induced copper deficiency.
So you start taking high-dose zinc to fix your skin, but in doing so, you wipe out the copper your body needs, and you cause new problems like nerve issues, fatigue, and, ironically, worse skin sagging because copper is vital for elastin.
Precisely. You solve one problem and create another, often worse, systemic one. And similarly with magnesium, if you overdo it, massive doses can cause immediate side effects like diarrhea and stomach discomfort.
And we know that means in this context. A fast gut means less contact time, which means poor absorption of everything else, completely defeating the perfect.
It becomes a vicious cycle. The key insight is that too much of one mineral can block others, leading to digestive issues, inflammation, you name it. The body is not a factory where you can just dump raw materials in. It needs precise, steady input.
So let's shift to the practical side. If all these symptoms, poor sleep, muscle cramps, frequent colds, are so often just mistaken for getting older, what are the key deficiencies to look for and how do we start rebalancing without causing new problems?
When the body lacks these minerals, the signals are clear even if we misinterpret them. A lack of zinc usually shows up as weakened skin, very poor wound healing, maybe an increase in eczema or dryness. A copper deficiency tends to be more systemic, affecting the cardiovascular system and bones, but you'll see it as quicker skin sagging. And low magnesium always announces itself with inflammation, poor sleep, and muscle issues.
Okay, so from problem to solution, how do we start fixing this absorption crisis? Is it all about specialized pills, or do we go back to food?
The common trap is relying only on pills. But the body absorbs minerals best from whole foods because they come with a whole team of other vitamins and cofactors that help the absorption process. Food has to be the foundation.
But didn't we just establish that for a listener over 60, their stomach acid is probably lower, making food absorption harder anyway? So how do we use whole foods to get around that?
That is the critical caveat, you're right. The foundation is nutrient-dense food, but we also have to make sure digestion is supported. For an aging gut, preparation methods become key.
Give us some specifics. How does an older adult make sure they're getting the most from their food?
Okay, take zinc from pumpkin seeds. They're fantastic, but they have to be cured really, really well. Or even better, consumed as a finely ground powder or a butter to maximize the surface area. For magnesium from leafy greens, simple cooking like late steaming starts breaking down those tough cell walls, which makes it much more bioavailable than eating a huge raw salad.
That's really actionable advice. Increase the surface area or pre-digest it a bit with light cooking. You're optimizing the input for a system that's running a little less than optimally.
Exactly. And for copper, shellfish is an excellent source, as the nutrients are often just easier to absorb than from many plant sources. This whole inside-out approach, focusing on nourishment, preparation, digestion, it provides far more lasting results than any topical fix ever could. You're restoring overall health, not just masking a symptom.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The key finding from this deep dive is incredibly powerful. Skin aging, the wrinkles, the fragility, the spots, is often just a direct, visible reflection of your internal systems not running at peak efficiency. True strength and a lasting youthful appearance, they really do rely on the balance you nurture on the inside.
By focusing on absorption and on equilibrium, you're addressing the problem at the root instead of just chasing symptoms on the surface. It gives you a roadmap to better internal health.
And here is the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. Think about all those symptoms of mineral deficiencies, that nagging fatigue, poor sleep you blame on age, muscle cramps in the middle of the night. They're so often written off as just normal wear and tear. What if those seemingly minor, long-ignored discomforts were actually the body's silent, early warning signs of the structural breakdown that later shows up as visible skin aging?
It connects those small aches and pains directly to what you see in the mirror years later. It all starts inside.
It truly drives home the point. True strength and radiance don't come from the outside, but from the balance we nurture inside. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you take a moment to reflect on your own mineral balance and how a few simple adjustments could make a profound difference. Until next time.